In November of 1896, many Northern Californians witnessed something strange and unusual in the skies. It was documented in many newspaper articles and referred to as an airship. Today we refer to them as UFOs. Now, November of that same month and year, Thanksgiving Day, something strange took place. It was the first documentation of an attempted alien abduction. That's right, folks. Close encounters of the third kind. And by the looks of my watch, it's officially grave time. Many newspapers were printed telling the story of these airships. One newspaper out of San Francisco, known as The Call, told many stories of people's sightings. Even so, people coming forward claiming to say that they invented this airship. However, when they were pressed for wanting to know how these things were invented, well, they said that they weren't interested in making a patent, which back then, if you invented something, you were doing it to make money. And the fact that these people did not want to make money off of a great invention like something that flies, well, they were seen as liars. But that doesn't mean that what was actually happening wasn't a lie. This is the Capitol building located in Sacramento, California. And in an interesting article, there's a story about two men who are on top of the building next to the dome on the very top. And they're talking about seeing this airship fly over them. And there's lights illuminating from down below. And they hear noise coming from it. It sounds like singing or even men talking. Shortly after starting Grave Time here on YouTube in 2016, I was going through different internet websites and just putting in different types of topics into the Google search. One of them being UFO sightings. And I came across this interesting article from LodiNews.com, which was talking about a man in Lodi who was writing a book about the 1896 attempted alien abduction that took place. And I was instantly hooked. Roughly about 3 years ago, I actually made a video about this particular topic. However, it's absolutely terrible, and by the time you try to look for it, I've already deleted it because I think this video is going to be much better and it has more information. Now, I know this is really hard to read, but don't worry. I'm going to tell you the whole entire story, word from word, about this newspaper article about the attempted alien abduction that took place. And telling the story is that of one of the abductees, Colonel H.G. Shaw. This was from the Stockton, California newspaper, known as the Evening Mail, and it came out on Friday, November 27th, 1896. Now, if you stick around to the end of the video, I'll let you know how you can get yourself a copy of this through me. Now, I'm going to take you on location to exactly where this incident took place. Here is a map that I got off of Google Maps, and here is where Sacramento is located, and Elk Grove, where I currently live, and Lodi, California. Here's a map of a small section of Lodi, California. The red circle marks the spot of the sighting, and the green circle marks the spot of the spacecraft.
The Evening Mail. Stockton, California. Friday, November 27th, 1896. 3 strange visitors. Who possibly came from the planet Mars. Seen on a country road by Colonel H.G. Shaw and a companion, they boarded the airship. For more than a week, the papers all over the coast have been reporting the presence of an alleged airship of flying machine, which many reputable people claim to have seen on several occasions in the heavens at night. Whether or not there really is such a contrivance navigating the air, the Mail is unable to satisfactorily determine, but some of the papers have taken the matter seriously and others have been disposed to make light of the statements. A couple of San Francisco attorneys have secured a lot of free advertising by claiming to have clients who have invented and tested successful flying ships, and the newspapers have filled several columns talking about the aerial mystery. The Mail makes the above statement merely by way of preface to a most remarkable story which is related by Colonel H.G. Shaw of this city, formerly of the Mail editorial staff. Colonel Shaw is at present engaged in collecting an exhibit for the Stockton Commercial Association to be displayed at the Citrus Fair, which will be held in Fresno during the coming month. The gentleman was very reticent about relating the circumstance, as he said he had no idea that it would be believed by anyone, and he was loath to appear before the public as a romancer or as man who had looked upon shoestring when it was red. He tells the story as follows. 3 strange beings. Were it not for the fact that I was not alone when I witnessed the strange sight, I would never have mentioned it at all. Wednesday afternoon I went out to Lodi in Lockford in company with Camille Spooner, a young man recently arrived from Nevada. I went to the places mentioned in quest of material to form an exhibit to represent this county at the Fresno Citrus Fair. We left Lodi on the return trip, I should judge, shortly before 6 o'clock, and we were jogging along quietly when the horse stopped suddenly and gave a snort of terror. Looking up, we beheld 3 strange beings. They resembled humans in many respects, but still they were not like anything I had ever seen. They were nearly or quite 7 feet high and very slender. We were both somewhat startled, as you may readily imagine, and the first impulse was to drive on. The horse, however, refused to budge, and when we saw that we were being regarded more with an air of curiosity than anything else, we concluded to get out and investigate. I walked up to where the strange-looking persons were and addressed them. I asked where they were from. They seemed not to understand me, but began warbling presses it better than talking. Their remarks, if such you would call them, were addressed to each other, and sounded like an monotonous chant, inclined to be guttural. I saw it was no use to attempt end conversation, so I satisfied myself with watching and examining them. They seemed to take great interest in ourselves, the horse and buggy, and scrutinized everything very carefully. Weighed less than an ounce each. While they were thus engaged, I was enabled to inspect them as well. As I have already stated, they were 7 feet in height and very slender. I noticed, further, that their hands were quite small and delicate, and that their fingers were without nails. Their feet, however, were nearly twice as long as those of an ordinary man, though they were narrow, and the toes were also long and slender. I noticed, too, that they were able to use their feet and toes much the same as a monkey. In fact, they appeared to have much better use of their feet than their hands. I presently discovered that this was probably a provision of nature. As one of them came close to me, I reached out to touch him, and, placing my hand under his elbow, pressed gently upward, and lo and behold, I lifted him from the ground with scarcely any effort. I should judge that the specific gravity of the creature was less than an ounce. It was then that I observed him try to grasp the earth with his toes to prevent my lifting him. You can readily understand that their slight weight made such a provision necessary, or they might be blown away. They were without any sort of clothing, but were covered with a natural growth hard to describe. It was not hair, neither was it like feathers, but it was as soft as silk to the touch, and their skin was like velvet. Their faces and heads were without hair, the ears were very small, and the nose had the appearance of polished ivory, while the eyes were large and lustrous. The mouth, however, was small, and it seemed to me that they were without teeth. That and other things led me to believe that they neither ate nor drank, and that life was sustained by some sort of gas. Each of them had swung under the left arm a bag to which was attached a nozzle, and every little while one or the other would place the nozzle in his mouth, at which time I heard a sound as of escaping gas. It was much the same sound as is produced by a person blowing up a football. Of indescribable beauty. From the description I give, I do not want you to get the idea that these creatures were hideous. In appearance they were markedly the contrary. They were possessed of a strange and indescribable beauty. I can express myself in no other way. They were graceful to a degree, and more divinely beautiful than anything I ever beheld. The strangest part of this story is yet to come. It is the lights they carried. Each held in his hand something about the size of a hen's egg. Upon holding them up and partly opening the hand, these substances emitted the most remarkable, intense, and penetrating light one can imagine. Notwithstanding its intensity, it had no unpleasant effect upon our eyes, and we found we could gaze directly at it. It seemed to me to be some sort of luminous mineral, though they had complete control of it. Finally they became tired of examining us and our horse and buggy, and then one of them, at a signal from one who appeared to be the leader, attempted to lift me, probably with the intention of carrying me away. Although it made not the slightest resistance, he could not move me, and finally the three of them tried it without the slightest success. They appeared to have no muscular power outside of being able to move their own limbs. Strange airship. Well, after trying in vain to move either of us, they turned in the direction of the Woodbridge Canal, near which we were, and as they flashed their lights towards the bridge we beheld a startling sight. There, resting in the air about 20 feet above the water, was an immense airship. It was 150 feet in length at least, though probably not over 20 feet in diameter at the widest part. It was pointed at both ends, and outside of end large rudder there was no visible machinery. The three walked rapidly toward the ship, not as you or I walk, but with a swaying motion, their feet only touching the ground at intervals of about 15 feet. We followed them as rapidly as possible, and reached the bridge as they were about to embark. With a little spring they rose to the machine, opened a door in the side, and disappeared within. I do not know of what the affair was built, but just before it started I struck it with a rock and it gave no sound. It went through the air very rapidly and expanded and contracted with a muscular motion, and was soon out of sight. I have a theory, which, of course, is only a theory, that those we beheld were inhabitants of Mars, who have been sent to the Earth for the purpose of securing one of its inhabitants. I feel safe in asserting that the stories being told by certain San Francisco attorneys are clumsy fakes, and should not be given credence by anyone.
If you would like a personal copy of this newspaper article, be sure to email me, gravetime@hotmail.com. Be sure to title the email 1896 UFO. That way, when I am going through my emails, I can see that it isn't junk mail. I check my emails between 1 to 2 times a week, so please be patient if I don't get back to you right away. Also, down below in the description, I'll have links. I'll also have a link to my Facebook page where I've posted the actual article, and you may or may not be able to see it, so probably the email is the best shot for you. Thank you everybody for watching this episode of Grave Time. Be sure to subscribe to my channel and hit that notification bell so you can be in the loop of the next Grave Time adventure, no matter how strange. And also, I'd like to know your thoughts about this attempted alien abduction that took place. Do you think it's real? Do you think it's fake? I'd like to know. Also, if you live in Lodi, California, please leave a comment down below. I want to know if you've ever heard this story before or not. Also, I appreciate all of you who watch my videos and leave comments. It means a lot to me. Be sure to check out the links down below in the description for anything and everything having to do with this particular story. And as always, God bless you and have a wonderful day. Bye.